So it is a controller behavior. So it contains some activation table. So how to activate? Okay, a combinatorial specification of the behavior. So what is that? Let us see. So if we go for the diagram, then it will be very easy for you. Okay, so next one is the control specification. The next point is the following figure depicts means shows preliminary state diagram of a for the level 1 control flow model for the safe home. So in the level 1, so if you go for the level 1, if you have seen the level 1 diagram, so this is the level 1 diagram. Okay, so level 1 diagram for a safety home. So in the level 1 diagram, so level 0 diagram is only for the outlook. Okay, so internally which one will go for which the action will go for what, and from there where it comes. So that is a level 1. In detail we'll go for the level 2. Okay, so for this level 1, whatever the diagram is there, so in this level 1, so whatever the actions are going for that, we have to go for a, we are drawing the one state diagram. Okay, so and next, so this is a control specification we have seen. So in the following figure depicts a preliminary state diagram for the level 1 control flow model. So the data flow model of a so previous diagram what I have shown now. So for that diagram we will go for the some state diagram. So how we have to draw the state diagram for that. Okay, so this diagram indicates how the system responds to events. So events are nothing but some action what we are doing internally or externally. Okay, so what are the actions? If you click on the switch, that is an event. If you click on the submit button, that is an event. Okay, so those are called as an event. So the diagram indicates how the system responds to the events as it traverses for the 4 states defined at this level. Okay, so let us go further. So what are the things when we have apply an event? So what are the things it will go? So how it will traverse? Traverse means it will move. The 4 states defined at this level. So there are 4 states defined at this level. So in DFD diagram or control flow model diagram in level 1 we have given the 4 states. Okay, so what are this? That let us go further. So by reviewing the state diagram we can determine, so what we can determine from the state diagram, the behavior of the system. So if such event is occur, so what is the behavior of the system? For example, in detail if you want to know, so this is a safe home security. Yes, so we have DFD diagram is about the safe home security. So in the safe home security, what is the things? So there is a software. So here one thing, and here one sensors, and here display, and here some telephone, or here some police dial, whatever it is. Okay, like this the diagram is there. It is a level 0 diagram. Okay, so this is a level 0 diagram. So for example, what we are saying, so if by reviewing the state diagram we can determine the behavior of the system. So by giving the, so up to now we have seen the diagrams only, so how the system will act. Okay, now we are going for, so when we interacting with the system, so what things will happen. Okay, so what are the changes will happen. So one state to another state, how it will change. So that is given in the state diagram. So for example, so this is some sensors. When sensor will sense one information, how it will give to the safe home security, some software. So this software, what it will do. So when the sensor is give some information, how it will go for the display. This is some display, control panel or display, whatever it is. Okay. From this display, how it will come to the some telephone. Whether the information has passed through telephone, or information has to pass through the some message. This is for call, telephone call, or for message. So how it is changing from one state to another state. So what is the event happening over there? So that we'll know in this. So and more important, ascertain whether there are holes in the specified behavior. Holes, HOLE, holes. Here the meaning of the holes is like whatever the some, we can say holes are nothing but some defects. Okay, so whatever that means after designing the system, so when the system is changing from one state to another state, whether it is working perfectly or not, so whether it is going to the correct way or not, so that is a hole. For example, we will take, so let us go for the example. So what are the holes means? For example, website designing. Okay, so I am creating one website. So the same thing, it should have some 8 pages of website. So in this way 8 pages, so first one is the home page, and second one is the login page, and third one is some sign up page. Okay, and next one is some let us go for some products. Okay, so like this some 8 pages website I have drawn. Okay, I mean designed. So when I'm going for the first, it will show for the home page. So after home page there is a login. Okay, so when I give the login credentials, username and password, it should go for the my home page. That means the individual person home page who has some login credentials of their own. So for those persons, we'll go for the my home page. Okay, so when the user has given the some login credentials, it not lead to the some my home page, it will go in for the only home page, then it is called as some hole. Okay, so there is some error when an event is occurred. So even though the event is occurred, it lead to some other wrong pages, some other leading to the wrong way. So that is called as a hole. Okay, so let us go for the next point. So the CSPEC describes the behavior of the system, but it gives us no information about the inner working of the process that are activated as a result of this behavior. So whatever this CSPEC is giving only the information. So it doesn't give any information regarding so how the inner work, that means when a sensor is sensing, so how it is sensing, how it is getting the information, so how it is transferring the information, that information will not be known to us. Okay, will not known. So only what is the state diagram will give is, the state diagram will give only how it is changing from one state to the another state. So if an event is occurred, so if you click on the button, so what it is happening. So for example, if you are switching on the light, so if you click on the switch, so if you do on the switch, so how the light is on, so the light is on or not, only that state will be known in the state diagram. Okay, so how the current is passing in that, so how the current is connected in that, so that the process, what is the inner process is going on, so that will not known to us. Okay, so it will give only the, so what is the for this behavior, so for an event is occur, so what is its behavior. So if the sensor is sensing something, so then how it will act, so how it is taking in inner, so that is not given to the information will not be displayed. Okay, so that is the state diagram. And next point is, so let us see, this is a state diagram. So in this state diagram, see there is some regarding the some amplification, some queries. So this is a state diagram for the safe home security function. Okay, so if it is an ideal, so this is a button, so the button that is with round circles, double circle with the filled one, so that is the start button. Okay, that is the end button. So start button is the some round, so there is some circle filled with a circle black color, so that is the starting. So starting first building, so then it is when it is an ideal, so when it comes to an ideal place, that means no one, it is not sensing something, so it is in ideal state, so then it is ideal. So at the time it will go for the some ideal. So if it is some anything is happened, so how it is go for next state, so next state, so then it will go for the end. Okay, this is the state diagram. So like this we have to give the some state diagrams. For example, if you go for the ATM, okay, for ATM, so use case diagram, activity diagrams, you people seen about the ATM. So for ATM, so the state diagram will be, so first it is in a circle, so some field circle, then it will go for the one state, so it is in some ideal state, that means no person is interacting with that. So after that, when you insert the card, so then it will come to the some other state, activation state. So in this activation state, what it will go, it will display some messages, insert the card. So after inserting, it will ask for the some transactions, okay, like that. After the activation, after taking of the card, then again it will go for the ideal. So that the state, it is showing the only the state, okay. So this is the state diagram. Just to go look into that, it is just for example, okay. So the main important diagram of all these is a use case diagram and activity diagram. State diagram is only for the transitions, how the transitions changes from one state to another state when an event is occur. For that purpose only this state diagram will go. And next, coming to the process specification. So up to now we have seen the control specification, CSPEC. Now we are going for the process specification, PSPEC. Okay, so differences. So CSPEC and PSPEC. So this PSPEC is used to describe all flow model process that appear at the final level of refinement. So in CSPEC we go for the what we have done. So in CSPEC we have done for the state diagrams. So in the PSPEC is to describe all the flow model process, how the flow model processes are taken and that appear at the final level of the refinement, so at the final level, okay. So let us go for the next. The content of the process specification can include specification, narrative text, a program design language, that is a PDL. So program design language we call in shortcut as a PDL. Description of the process algorithm, so what are the different process algorithms. Mathematical equations, so what are the mathematical equations we can include, so we can include, so tables, database tables, and or UML activity diagrams. So UML activity, only activity diagrams, okay. So in this process specification, so the main content is including only the some text. Text means, so what is the process is going on here, so what are the different models we are considering, that is the some text. So a program language, design language. So in order to design this software, so what are the different programming languages you are using, we have to specify that. And description of the process algorithms, so whatever the algorithms you used in the software, we have to describe those. So any other mathematical equations we have to describe. Any tables, if there is any backend, so if there is any tables you have to run, so we have to give that description. And also some activity diagrams, so how the process is going on, okay. So this is a content of the process specification, okay. And next, coming to the next point is, by providing a PSPEC to accompany each bubble in the flow model, you can create a mini specification that serve as a guide for the design software component that will implement the bubble. So in this PSPEC, so each specification, so whatever the specifications you are including, that means each thing is make each bubble, it will be shown in the bubble format. So you can create many specifications for that. So by creating these mini specifications will serve as a guide for the designing of the software component. So whatever the different components you are using in the software, so in order to design those software components, this mini specification will important for that, okay. So for that, by using these components, we can also implement the bubble. So what is that bubble? Let us see. So creating a behavior model, so that is a specification. So that means bubble is nothing but it is some circle. Within this circle, what are the events are occurring, what are the elements we have to consider in order to develop of a software product. So for that is a bubble. They will consider each work as a one bubble. Okay. Next topic is creating a behavior model. So what is a behavior model? So up to now we have seen the control specification and process specification. Now we are going for the what is a behavioral model. So the behavioral model indicates how software will respond to external events or stimuli. To create the model, you should perform the following steps. So we have seen what is a behavioral model. State diagram is a behavioral model. So how it behaves. So when an event is occurred, so when externally an event is occurred, so how it is behaving, the system how it will behave. So that is seen in the state diagram in control specification. The same thing, this behavioral model also indicates how software respond to the external events. External events means not internally, so external. External means whether a human is interacting or by the external environment conditions, whatever it is. Okay. To create the model, you should perform the following steps. So in this, if you have to create this behavioral model, you have to some steps. So what are those steps? Let us go. So first one, evaluate all use cases to fully understand the sequence of interaction with the system. So first one is a use case. So firstly, we have to go for the use case. Okay. So what are the use cases? That means what when we have said that behavior is nothing but some event is external events. So external events is mainly caused by the humans. Okay. So that is one actor. In use case, each whatever the things is use cases are drawn according to the actors. Okay. So when an actor is interacting with the system, so what are the events will occur? So what are the use cases that? So we have to first make the some list. Okay. We have to evaluate all those things. And next, second point is identify events that drive the interaction sequence and understand how those events relate to the specific objects. So now first evaluate the use cases, then we will go for the identify the events. Events are nothing but, so for example, switch on. Okay. So in the safe home security, if for example ATM, so what are the events we'll be inserting a card? So inserting card. Is an event, or else pressing of cancel button. So that are doing externally. So if you press the cancel button, that is also one event. Okay. So identify the events that drive the interaction sequence and understand how these events relate to the specific objects. So when you click on the cancel button, how it will act. So what are the interaction it will. So what if you click on the cancel, what it will happen. So whatever the transaction you are performing, the transaction will be cancelled. So the transaction will not be performed. The same thing, how it is going. So for that purpose, what are the different objects? So at that time, what are the objects? ATM is an object, card is an object, transaction is an object. Okay. So like that you have to identify all the events that drive interaction sequence and also how related to those events to the specific objects. Next, thirdly, create a sequence for each use case. So we have to create some sequence. So that is a sequence diagram. We will see what is a sequence diagram. Okay, we have to create some sequence for each use case. And next, fourth one is build state diagram for the system. So we have seen the state diagram. So we have to create some state diagram. So if an event occurs, what state it will go? If an external event is occur, what state it will go? Okay. Review the behavioral model to verify accuracy and consistency. So in order to accuracy, in order to see the consistency, so how perfectly it is working. So how perfectly we are getting the output. So for that purpose, we go for the behavioral model. So in creating the behavioral model, we have the three parts. One is the identifying the events with use case. So we have to identify the events. And next one is the state representation. So what are the different states? And next one is the sequence diagram. These are the 3 points we have to remember in the creating of a behavioral model. So first, identifying a use cases is nothing but identify the events with use case. So inserting a ATM card, that is an event. Clicking on the press button, that is one event. Clicking on the banking button, so that is an event. We have to identify those events. So that is identifying the events with the use case. So use case is nothing but actor. Okay, and next coming to the state representation. So what is the state representation? In the context of the behavioral modeling, two different characterization of states must be considered. So in the context of in the behavioral modeling, we have to identify the two different characterization of states. So what are those? The first point is the state of each class as a system performs its function. So whatever the state, so for example, in the previous diagram we have seen some ideal. So ideal means in that some class is there. Okay, ideal is also one class. So that is a one state. So in that state there will be one class. Okay, so as a system perform its function. So in ideal case, what is the function it will do? So whether it is booting itself or whether it is some processor, backend processor running or not. So the state of each class as the system performs its function or not, we have to check. And secondly, the state of the system as observed from the outside as the system performs its function. So how it is functioning? For example, in the environment of the designing part, that means in the developer environment, it will work. Whether it is working out of the his environment, that means if you are placing the ATM in the ATM center, so at that particular place, at that particular situation, whether it is working or not, we have to check. So the state of the system as observed from the outside, as the system performs its function or not, we have to check it. So these are the two different characteristics we have to consider. And next, two different behavioral representations are discussed in the paragraph that follow. So apart from the two characteristics, there are the two different behavioral. So what are those? So the first indicates how individual class changes state based on external events, and the second shows the behavior of the software as a function of time. So the first one indicates how individual class changes the state based on the external events. So we said that state will be changed when external event is occur. So when an external event is occurring, how it is changes. So how it is changing take place from one state to the other state. So that is the first one. And secondly, it shows the behavior of the software as a function of time. So within the time, whether the function is performing or not. For example, if you are inserting the card, after giving the PIN number, after giving the amount what you have to withdraw from the ATM. So after clicking on the from savings account, so whether the amount is getting within a time or not, whether it is in a too long time or whether it is within a short time, whatever the time they fixed in the software, according to that time, whether it is giving the money to the user or not. Okay, that is the two parts. So we have to, these are the two different behaviors. So first one is the according to the based on external events, and secondly whether it is working functionally on the time or not, function time, behavior of the software as a function of time. Okay, and next, so state diagrams for analysis classes. So state diagrams are for analysis of class. One component of a behavioral model is a UML state diagram. So we have seen the state diagram in the behavioral model, okay, control specification model, that represents active states for each class and events. Events are nothing but external events or whatever the events occur within the system that cause changes between these active states. So state is nothing but both active and idle states will have. So okay, in active states, how the events occur, then it will cause the changes of between the active states. Okay, so for example, ATM. Until the user interact, firstly it will be in the idle state. Okay, when the user is interacted with the ATM, then it will comes into the some active state. When it will come into active state? After inserting the ATM card. Inserting ATM card. So after inserting the ATM card, this ATM machine will come into the active position. So after that what will go? Then it will ask some transactions or some PIN number, or sometimes it will ask to check whether the number is displaying or not. Like that, it will give us some positions. Okay, so after inserting the state, inserting the ATM card, whether it is coming to that position or not. So that is a changing of the from one active state to the another active state. So for example, if after inserting the ATM card also, sometimes system will not active, because that is a maybe for software may be corrupted or some problems in the ATM machine. So that means it will still in the ideal state only. Okay, so the next, the following figure illustrates a state diagram for the control panel object in the safe home security function. So each arrow shown in figure represents a transition from an active state to an object to another. The label shown for each arrow represents an event that triggers the transition. So what is the diagram? Let us go for that. See, if you see in this diagram, so first it is go for the some key function. Okay, that is an event. So after that event, it is going for the some reading. Okay, so after reading, what it is going for? So if you see in this diagram, so first it will go for the start button. So that circle is the start button. Then it will go for the next one is the if key text. That means if you entered some key. Okay, so then it will go for the reading. So the reading is a one state. So then after it will ask for the software password enter. So it will ask some password to enter. So after passwording enter, it is comparing with the database. So if you see, that is a comparing. So if that is valid one, then it will go for the selecting. If it is not valid, the password, whatever the password you have given, whatever the username you have given, it is wrong, it will ask for multiple times. That means until you enter the correct password. Okay, so here in this comparing, it will go into parts. One is for the selecting and one is for the lock. So if the user has given multiple times, then your whatever the username and password, that site will be locked for some time. So if you see the internet banking, so if you enter the multiple times the wrong password, what it will go? It will lock the site. I mean, the user will be locked for some time. For 24 hours, 48 hours, it is according to the bank. Okay, so that is the time lock. So that means when we are triggering from one external event is occurring. So how the state changing of the state? So after entering reading some key text, it will go for the reading state, one state. After reading, it is going for the password entering. So it will going for the some comparing state. Okay. So in comparing state, it will give the some two chances, whether 2 or 3 chances to enter the password correct. If you enter the password correctly, then it will go for the some selecting state, or else it will go for the some logged state. Okay, so like that. So that means when an event is occurring from externally, it will changing the state from one state to the another state, from one active state to the another active state. So if you have read the previous paragraph, the following figure illustrates a state diagram. So that is a state diagram for control panel object. So in safe home security, if you have seen the level 0 safe home security, there is a control panel. So in control panel, how it is acting, how it is changing. So it is not giving the internally what it is doing, it will just giving the how it will change from one state to another state if an event is occur. Okay, each arrow shown in figure represents a transition. So each arrow, so if you have seen some arrows in the diagram, if you have seen the diagrams, so there is some arrows. Okay, those arrows is what is the transition from one active state to the another active state. Okay, so the labels shown on arrow represents the event that triggers at the transition. So whatever the events, so here what is the event has occurring? Key text. That means we are keying, that means we are typing some text. Okay, so that is some event. So password, okay, that is also some text we are entering into that. So this is a state diagram of a state representation. So one event is so changing of the state from one state to the another state. So it is with some text. Okay, this is a state diagram in clear. So next coming to the sequence diagram. So what are the sequence diagram? The second type of behavioral representation. So sequence diagram and state diagram are the behavioral diagrams. So UML diagrams is classified into two types. One is behavioral. Okay, so these behavioral diagrams are the first one is sequence diagram and next one is the state diagram. So these are the two types of diagrams in the behavioral type. So apart from behavioral, there is so the second type, second type of behavioral model is the sequence diagram. Okay, UML is classified into two types. So one is the behavioral and the next one is the some other type. Okay, so the some other type is coming to the use case diagrams. Activity diagram will come under one category. So behavioral diagram category is the sequence diagrams and state diagrams. So up to now we have seen the state diagrams. Now we are going for this. The second one is the sequence diagrams. So sequence diagrams is a behavioral representation. Okay, is called a sequence diagram in UML. Indicates how events cause transition from one object to object. In state diagram, we have seen the events occur state to state. Here in the sequence diagram, when the event is occur, how the object to object it will be changed. Okay, so that is the difference between the sequence and the state diagram. Once events have been identified by examining a use case, the modeler creates a use case diagram. Okay, so what are the events are happening? So what are the events are happening in the system? So once they are observed in terms of use case, then this sequence diagram will be drawn. Okay, so a sequence diagram representation of how events cause flow from one object to another object as a function of time in particular function of time. So how one object to another object, the way of flow is going, that is the sequence diagram. In essence, the sequence diagram is shorthand version of the use case. So sequence diagram is we can also take as some short term of the use case. Okay, so in use case what we will go, so what are the different types of actions we can perform? So inserting a card, that is a one use case. So after inserting card, password entry, that is a one use case. So basing upon that use cases, this sequence diagram also will be drawn. Okay, so sequence diagram and use case diagram in representation is different, but the things what we are considering use case, the same thing will be taken in the sequence diagram. And next point is it represents key classes and the events that cause behavior to flow from one class to the another class. So one object to another object is same, one class to another class is the same words. So classes are represented by the objects. Okay, so how the function, so how the when event occurs, so how the from one class to another class the changes is occurring will be seen in this sequence diagram. So this is the sequence diagram. Okay, so in this sequence diagram, so we have given the some control panel, so some system, some sensors. So this is the home security. Okay, first one. So in the home security, so when an event occurs, how it will go for the control panel. So in the control panel, if it is gone for the how sensors will interact with this control panel. So how the system will interact, how the sensors will interact. Okay, this is the some sequence diagram. So I will show the sequence diagram for the ATM at the last of the session. Okay, so this how this is sequence diagram will be drawn for the safe home security, but this is some part. Okay, so in order to draw the sequence diagram for whole part of the safe home security, it is a very large, so only some partial part. Okay, so when and even when password is given, so how the system is interacting with the control panel. So when it is sensing some person, so how the sensor will give the information to the system, like that. So I will give the some sequence diagram for ATM to understand more easily, okay, later. So and next coming to the patterns for the requirements modeling. So what are the different patterns in the requirement modeling? Software patterns are a mechanism for capturing domain knowledge in a way that allows it to be reapplied when a new problem is encountered. So when a new problem is encountered, this software patterns, okay, so software patterns. So these software patterns will play an important role. So these software patterns are nothing but it is one mechanism. So mechanism in the domain knowledge. Okay, whatever the domain you are using, whether you are using the some domains we can say domains means what are the programming language you are doing. That is a one domain. So in the domain knowledge, if you are applying the some changes, so whatever the new problems will encounter. Okay, so in some cases, the second point, in some cases the domain knowledge is applied to a new problem within the same application domain. So in order to rectify the same the error, we can use some other language, some other domains, or else within the same domain also we can use the we can apply within the same domain also. Okay, so the domain knowledge captured by a pattern can be applied by analogy to a completely different application domains. So whatever the domain knowledge you are applying, so by a pattern, so whatever the patterns for requirements model, these software patterns can be applied to completely different application domains. Okay, so these patterns are not belong to only particular domain. So these patterns can apply to any domain, so any part of domain. So whether it is a Java, whether it is C, whether it is C++ or Python or Ruby or Perl, whatever the language it is, whatever the domain knowledge it is, so we can apply that. Okay, the pattern can be reused when performing requirements modeling for an application within a domain. So these patterns, so patterns it is some language, okay, can be reused when performing requirements. So this pattern can also apply when you are performing some requirements modeling for an application within a domain. Okay, and next coming to discovery analysis patterns. So in the patterns, this is the second part. So in patterns, some of the subheading. So discovering a analysis patterns. How we have to discover analysis patterns? The requirement model is comprised of a variety of models. Okay, so variety of elements. So we have seen scenario based. So in scenario based, we use the use cases, data oriented. So in data oriented, we use some data models are nothing but DFD or class diagrams, class based, flow oriented, and behavioral. So these requirement models. So how to analyze patterns are we have to discover is based upon the elements what we are using. Okay, we are using the for requirements modeling of the requirements. We use many of elements. What are those? Scenario based, data oriented, class based, flow oriented, and behavioral. So up to now we have seen all those things. What is what? So each of these elements examine the problem from a different perspective, and each provides an opportunity to discover the patterns that may occur throughout an application domain or by analogy across different application domains. So whatever the elements you are examining, whether elements is a scenario based, whether it is a use case, whether it is a class based, whether it is a data flow diagram, or whether it is a behavioral model, whatever the model you are using, whatever the elements you are using, okay, examine the problems from different perspective. So we can examine in different ways. Perspective means different views, and each provides an opportunity to discover the patterns. So in what way you are examining at every part, it will give us some different it gives us some opportunity to discover some patterns. So that may occur throughout the application domain or by analogy or by crossing different application domains. So whatever the applications you are using regarding that for testing. Okay, for testing you will apply so many of the applications like that. So at any part you will get these patterns. You can discover the patterns in those times. And next, the last topic for this unit is requirements modeling for web apps. So what are the requirement modelings? Okay, up to now we have seen the requirement modeling for the system, software. So now we are going for the requirement modeling for the web apps. For web applications, web apps are nothing but web application. For web applications, what are the requirement modelings? So requirement analysis does take time, but solving the wrong problem takes even more time. Okay, so requirement analysis. So we know that requirement analysis means we have to analyze the requirement, each and every requirement given by the stakeholder. So it takes a more time. Yes, it will take some more time, but solving the wrong problem takes even more time. So if you why we are using this requirement analysis, if you think, so if you not analyze the requirements, so if you implement all the requirements given by the stakeholder, so that it leads to some wrong way, then again it will take some more time than the requirement analysis time. So that is the point. So how much analysis is enough? So we are doing the analysis. So analysis means if you take the more and more time means it leads to the delay of the product. Okay, so how much time we have to take to analyze? So how much time is enough? So how much analysis? So to analyze something, so how much is enough for that? Okay, for example, if people are preparing for the exams, cement exams, so how up to 5 units, how many units if you prepare well means, then how can you write the exam like that? So how much analysis is enough? So the degree to which requirements modeling for web apps is emphasized depends upon the following factors. So how to model the requirements, how to take the requirements for web apps. So it depends upon the following factors. What are those? Let us see. So the first one is size and complexity of the web app increment. So what is the size and complexity? So how much size, that means web pages of different sizes will be available. So size and complexity. So how it is, whether it is if you have web pages of 10 pages or 20 pages. So what is the complexity in that? Number of stakeholders. So how many stakeholders are giving the requirements? So size of the web app team. So what is the size of the designing people? So okay, so for designing that web application, how much of the team is, the size we have to know. So the degree to which members of web app team have worked together. So whoever designing this web apps, web applications, okay. So how much, so which members team have worked together. For example, they will group some teams. Okay, so whoever the team worked for previously will go for the same work because there will be some collaboration between them. So they can communicate more easily. So in order to avoid some discomfort between the among the team members, so they will go for the only a single team. Okay, so degree to which members of the web app team have worked together. So who will work together? So who will work collaboratively? So those members they will select. And next, these are some guidelines we have to consider in order to analyze the requirements for web apps. Degree to which the organization's success is directly depend on the success design of the specific part of the web app. So we have also considered the organization's reputation. Okay, so how much it is successful in designing of the web apps. So web applications are the different web applications are seeing for today. Okay, so how the design mainly depends upon the design. So the design, how much success it is. So for organization. So if it is the organization has taken the 100 web applications, up to on those 100 applications, web applications, how many are successful? So we have to consider that also. It only depends on analysis of those requirements that affect only that part of the web app. Okay. So the main things, whatever the things we are considering up to now, only these are only for the analysis of the requirements for the web app. Okay. So if you analyze the more and morely, then the web app will be very perfect output will be come. And next, requirements modeling input. So in the requirements of analysis for the web apps, the second point in that internal point is requirements modeling input. So so in web applications only input and output. What is the input given by the user? What is the output he was getting? Okay, so if you see those things, so the first is the requirements modeling for the input, and second thing is the requirements modeling for the output. Okay, so the requirements model provides a detailed indication of the true structure of the problem, provides insight into the shape of the solution. So for input, so what type of input the user will give? So what type of input he can able to give? So he have to take the some requirement model indication. Okay, so if you take the requirement modification in a true format, then it will be avoid the some of the problems. Okay, so the requirements analysis refines this understanding by providing the additional interpretation. So additional interpretation means some more, if they taken the some more requirements from the outers. So as the problem structure is delineated as part of the requirements model. So the problem structure is delineated means if it is avoided, if it is solved, then it will be very useful for the requirements. And next, requirements modeling output. So up to now we have seen the input. Third point is in that second point is output. Requirements modeling output. So requirements analysis provides a disciplined mechanism for representing and evaluating web app content and function, the mode of interaction that users will encounter, and the environment and infrastructure in which web app resides. Okay, so whatever the requirement analysis we do, so it will provide a disciplined mechanism for presenting. So if you doesn't do the analysis and you simply do whatever the thing they have given, so it will not give the some such product. Whatever the product they require may not give, because all requirements whatever they given by the stakeholder will not be implemented. Sometimes it lead to some wrong way. Okay, so that's why requirement analysis provides a disciplined mechanism for representing and evaluating of the web apps, whatever the content you are providing. So in order to provide the content in the web app, you have to go for some words which mean so easy to understand to everyone, so it not lead to the some discrimination of others. Okay, like that whatever the web content you are providing, you have to take care of that, and the functions and mode of interactions. So whether you are using the chat box, whether you are using some mailbox, whatever you are using in the web applications, whatever the interactions you are using, and whatever the environment and infrastructure you are using. So environment means whatever the programming language, whether you are using the Java or Python or C, different languages are there. So whatever the language you are using, whether it is compatible to every user or not, you have to check. Each of these characters can be represented as a set of models that allow web app requirements to be analyzed in a structured manner. Okay, and next coming to the, so while the specific models depends largely upon the nature of the web app, there are 5 classes of models. So the first model is content model. So this content model identifies the full spectrum of the content. So what is this content? What content you are placing in the web apps? So for example, in Amazon also you will see this content. For some product, it will give you some content. So whatever the content is given by the user, some different we can say some consumers or some business people, whatever they place in the content, it plays an important role in the website. Okay, content includes text, so it can include the text, graphics or images or video and audio data. And next, interaction model. So it describes the manner in which users interact with the web apps. So whether he is interacting with it. So for what purpose he was interacting. So the design, if the design is good, the user will interact. If the design is not good, the user will not interact. Okay, and next third point is a functional model. So what is a functional model? So it defines the operations that will be applied to web app content and describes the other process functions that are independent of the content but necessary not to the user, but necessary to the end user. So for example, so in websites you are purchasing something. So whatever you're purchasing, if you click on the proceed to buy, then it has to display. So what is the amount it has spent on you? So what is the amount? So how much you are placing? So for example, if it takes some GST, or it takes some free delivery, or it is taking some delivery charges, whatever it is, you have to display all those things. If you are not displaying all those things and it is going directly to the payment mode, so there is some functional requirements. Okay, so because they must known to the end user, because he is interacting with the system. So in order to purchase that, so how much cost it is going. So some for some products it will go for this company it is offering the rate is like this. If this some comparison of the products will also be we can see when you purchasing some more products in some websites. So that is a functional model. Okay, and next one is the navigation model. Defines the overall navigation strategy for the web apps. So navigation is how it is navigating from one page to the another page. So if you click on the proceed to buy, then it is go for the display the all the charges, what are the charges you are placing. Okay, then it will ask her again continue, then only it has to go for the some payment mode, like that. So navigation. Next one is the configuration model. So what is a configuration model? So it describes the environment and infrastructure in the web in which web app resides. So what type of environment? That means whether it is working in the Android phones, whether it works only in the Windows, whether it works on the only iPhone or Mac. So whether it is working in only Linux. So what type of infrastructure, what type of configuration it is going to use. Okay, so the web apps what you are creating should configure to all the models. It should not work only with the Windows. It should not work only with the particular certain operating systems, because it leads to some mispopularity. That means the website will not be fully used by the users. Most of the people will work only on the Windows. Only 40% will work on the Mac OS. Okay, so whatever the web app you are using, so the configuration should be, you have to know what environment it is. Okay, and next, so this is about the third unit. So I will see about the some sequence diagram. I have said the sequence diagram. So sequence diagram for ATM. So what is the sequence diagram? How can we draw? So first is, in sequence diagram, first we have to give the some rectangular boxes. So we have to draw some rectangular boxes. Okay, first one is a customer or user, whatever it is. Sequence diagram for ATM. So previously we have seen the sequence diagram for the safe home security of one part. Okay, so then next it has to go for the bank database DB. I am giving the DB, and next in here you give the ATM. Okay, so in sequence diagram we have to draw lines with dotted. Okay, so when customer interact with the user, I mean ATM, so customer is interacting with the ATM, so up to here you have to draw some lines, and when the interacting has come, then you have to give the some long rectangular one. So this is a way of representation here in the sequence diagram. Okay, so inserting card. So this one will be drawn like this, because there is no interaction for with any these two. And next, customer again. So now after inserting the card, which will react, the ATM will react. So ATM will have to send the response to the user. What it will say? Enter PIN or password. Then you will get again one rectangular. So after entering the PIN, the user, again you have some drum and it will some rectangle. Enter pin after entered password. Send the password to the ATM. That means you enter the some pin. So after entering the pin, what will do? ATM will check the pin. ATM will check the pin with the database. Checking the pin. So after the checking, if the credentials are right, then it will ask the user from bank. It will come to the bank to the user. So transactions, what type of transactions? And at the end we have to keep the cross mark. So if you completed the transaction, then we have to give the cross mark. So this is the sequence diagram for the ATM. So like this we have to draw the sequence diagram. So customer is the one use case, bank database is a one use case, and ATM is a one use case. So okay, so this is the sequence diagram.